Good morning, everybody. Today's subject is going to be called the frog scientist this is from the frog scientist. This is fragile frogs, which we'll be talking about today. And basically, think about like porpoises in peril. The frog population keeps going down, down, down. In fact, you can say that the frog population is becoming what we say extinct. Think about the porpoises and everything. They went extinct. I'm actually going to show you a chart so you can kind of see what we're talking about a little bit. Okay, so here is a chart of the threatened amphibians. So it's not just frogs, it's amphibians in general. What are amphibians? Well, let's go take a look. Okay, we have right here the frog, which pretty much most people know. You have the salamander toad, which is like a frog, but it's not quite a frog, a newt, and a Sicilian. So right there are types of amphibians that you might find in the world. Let's go back to our other chart, shall we? So right down here at the very bottom, it has the color chart. So if there's none left in the world, this is a 0. I have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Obviously, the color gets darker as there is more in the world. So look right here. Let's go up here to California Pholistic Providence. You can see that there is some danger up in California Providence, this part of the world. But looks like their frog population is doing a little bit better. All right, here and here in the center, you can see definitely have a little bit more trouble in the frog population. This is called the Mesa America Caribbean, and then Andreas. Look right here in the center, right there. Lots of frogs and other amphibians missing. Australia, which is a video we're going to see today, right? Look at this right here in Australia. And not as much available there on the outside of Australia, yes. How about Asia and South America, or Southeast Asia? Healthy right there in the center, but you can see right there on the outside where the amphibians are losing. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch a little video. It's about the Australian frogs, which is going to be in the book as well. And the Australian frogs I think they're going to be gone by 2040. So that's 20 years from now, having no more frogs. All right, I present to you that video right.
The unique species that live in Australia, which don't occur anywhere else, these make up Australia's natural legacy. They enrich us. If we don't save these frogs, that richness gets diminished.
So right there, did you see that? So not only, if we go back just a little bit, 4 of the species might be gone already. They're not sure. When it comes to tracking animals and whatnot, it takes time and a lot of effort to figure out what's there and what's not.
Of the 245 species of frogs that are known from Australia, there are 26 species that we consider to be endangered or critically endangered or extinct already. So that's over 10% of Australian frog species, which are in dire straits. There are several species that we actually already think to be extinct, and the reason for that is because we haven't seen them for a long time, in some cases several decades. Despite lots of people looking for them, lots of experts out there searching for these frogs, they just haven't turned up.
Did you catch the names of the different frogs in Australia? Think back and look back and let me know. Raise your hand, bring me over. Tell me about the species that they just said that are available. If we have to go back just a little bit. Here's the northern tinker frog, the yellow spotted tree frog, mountain mist frog. I think there was one other on that list, but unless we start doing something about the environment, there will not be those frogs available anymore. They'll be gone.
Some of the frogs that we're about to lose are really amazing. For example, the southern Crobar frog, aptly named for its colours, these spectacular bright yellow and black stripes all over its body, reminiscent of Aboriginal corroboree paintings. There's a disease called the Kitchen Fungus, which is a global disease that emerged in North America, and it seems to be the primary cause of decline of frogs and extinction of frogs in seemingly pristine environments. However, climate change has started to take hold, and
So they said there was a fungus, which is a bacteria that's killing the frogs, but they also said climate change. Do you guys know what climate change is? Call me over if you think you know climate change and what that means. If not, call me over to ask me what is climate change. Okay? So that's something you want to do. Make sure you're paying attention. Want to know what climate change is because it's kind of important to the things of the frogs.
nowhere now is pristine. Climate change has direct effects through causing warming and drying of habitats, but it also has indirect effects through things like increasing the frequency and intensity of bushfires. Now we're at the point where we can be very confident and very explicit about what actions need to be taken. We can use captive breeding and reintroduction to supplement populations to hopefully enable them to adapt over time to dealing with our changing environments. But these are actions that we need to take now, otherwise we are going to lose some of these species. The good news about all this is that we actually know how to do this. We know that we can reproduce these frogs in captivity and in large numbers. We know we can remove invasive species like pigs and fish. So what's impeding us from doing it? Resources and support. If we don't save these frogs, it means that we're not saving their habitats. We're not protecting their ecosystems. And if we're not protecting those ecosystems adequately, then we're probably not protecting lots of other ecosystems adequately.
So we already talked about the ecosystems and the habitats and how it's important to support both, because if we are not taking care of the earth, therefore we're not taking care of the frogs. And consequently, we are not taking care of other animals too. Their habitat is in the wild. That's where they live. People like to go out and explore, they like to hike, they like to camp, and then they leave their stuff there. They destroy the environment. People dump things in the water, and then it becomes polluted. Forest fires are really large, especially in California, as we've seen on CNN 10 or CNN Student News, and then their habitats get destroyed.
And so these frogs are a symptom of a much bigger global issue about how humanity look after this planet.
The Frog Scientist by Pamela S. Turner. Fragile frogs. Amphibian scientists are like everybody else. They like to talk about what they do. At an international conference in 1989, nearly everyone was telling the same story. There seemed to be fewer amphibians: frogs, toads, salamanders, and caecilians. Each scientist thought it was happening just to the animals he or she studied. But when the scientists talked to one another, they realized it was happening everywhere.
Again, the ones that they just mentioned, except for the newt: frogs, salamanders, toads, caecilians, and the newt there, all threatened through their life.
Concerned scientists surveyed amphibian populations all over the world. They discovered that about a third of amphibians, 1,856 out of 5,743 species, are threatened with extinction. Since 1980, at least 122 species have probably become extinct. Australia had a remarkable species called the gastric brooding frog. The mother frog swallowed her eggs and hatched her babies in her stomach. The little frogs hopped from their mother's mouth into the big wide world. During the 1980s, the Australian gastric brooding frogs disappeared. Amphibian means double life. Most amphibians begin their life in a watery world, breathing through fish-like gills. Then they transform into an entirely different creature, an air-breathing animal.
So if you look at the world map on the back of the classroom, or the one right here, here is Australia in the middle of the world. We live all the way over here in the United States. It means you have to travel all the way across to get to Australia, where you would find these frogs. And the other thing he mentioned there is that frogs don't start. They start in the water. They're only water animals. As they grow up, they're able to breathe and live on land. So they're one of the few animals that are able to do just that. As they start with one in the water, usually animals that live in the water stay in the water. Ones live in land, stay on land, but not frogs. Frogs do a little bit of both.
Something similar happened in Costa Rica. Golden toads once lived in Costa Rica's cool, wet forests. The males of the 2-inch-long species were golden orange, like web-footed tangerines. They gathered by the hundreds during breeding season. The golden toad was last seen in 1989. Like the gastric brooding frog, the golden toad is now considered extinct. No one knows what killed the gastric brooding frogs or the golden toads. Habitat loss is a big problem for many wild animals.
So right there, we have the Costa Rica. So again, right here in the United States we are, and here's Costa Rica right down here. It's next to South America and in Mexico. So that is a place that you can find the golden toad frog, okay, that lives right there. And that hasn't been seen since 1989, which means Mr. Cox was, 8 years old by the time that it was gone. And I'm 40 now, so do the math.
Forests are cut down. Sometimes amphibian habitat is fragmented, chopped into smaller pieces, when roads, houses, or shopping centers are built. Imagine a tiny frog trying to hop safely across a freeway or parking lot. Scientists looked closely at places where amphibians were declining. To their surprise, they found it wasn't always where habitat was being lost or fragmented. Frogs were disappearing from protected areas or places very far from humans. Costa Rica's golden toad lived in a national park. The gastric brooding frog lived in remote parts of Australia. Red-legged walking frog. Above. This red-legged walking frog from Africa looks like he's wearing tiger-striped underwear. Walking frogs take steps with their hind legs instead of hopping. Right. The only golden toads left are museum specimens like this one. The species is believed to be extinct.
So right there are a couple more that right here, the golden toad frog, which is extinct right there. And then above, which means we look above, and then the one in Africa, the frog right here, also the red-legged walking frog. This is all the time I have for today. The rest will have to be read on your own through Savas Realize or the book, depending on which one you have. I haven't decided which one I can give you yet if we have any copies. All right, everybody, take care, and thanks for watching today's video on frogs. Bye.